Okay, so chances are you were watching the first video and all of a sudden it stopped just as we finished talking about big versus small measurements. What I decided was the original video was too long and I wanted you to be able to break up the two sessions or that video into two different bites that you could get through and hopefully have a little break in the middle. So that's why all of a sudden I just stopped, and then now you're going to get the rest of the measurement, video one, and the practice problems. There is a third part after this one that does cover temperature. Again, they're segmented so that the videos are shorter, which means that you have bite-sized portions. You don't have to watch for 20 minutes at a time, because I know with pausing, rewinding, and making sure that you're listening to everything, it's hard to focus on a video for more than 10 minutes tops. So that's why this is broken up, and you'll probably see that as a pattern throughout the semester. Now, technically, that was 7, right? We had the base unit, we had 3 bigger units, we had 3 smaller units, but in reality, when it comes to this class, there are really only like 3 particular prefixes that we need, maybe 4. So let me pop these up here. So let's talk about this. Science can use any prefix they want, but sometimes jumping up by a factor of 10 or going down by a factor of 10 is just a hassle. So we really only want to shift scales when we really need to. That means that our measurement is probably going to be roughly 1,000 times larger than what we're using, in which case it's worth jumping up to a prefix like kilo. So the 3 most common prefixes, and I refer to them as K, B, M. And there's different mnemonics you can use to remember this. Last year, I think we said we had someone who was a heavy monster drinker, and so she remembered it as killed by monster. Or some kids who don't like math, and this whole topic started to scare them. They remember this as killed by math. If you're not a violent person, you could change this around, and you could change K to a word like keep. And it could be keep Bennett mean, or keep Bennett, I don't know, any number of things. I don't know, figure that out. But remember KBM. And what I remember about this is once I know KBM, I can then fill in these numbers. So I know that 1 kilo is equal to 1,000 base units. Okay, so notice that 1 kilo is equal to 1,000 base units, and then 1 base unit is equal to 1,000 millis. And if I have this, then I can pretty much convert any measurements, with the exception of temperature and a couple other tricky ones. But a lot of the measurements in this class you can do just using this right here. Okay, so let me show you an example, and then we'll talk about the fourth one down here. So let's say that you have, let's do 45 kilograms, okay, and we want to know how many milligrams that represents. Okay, so what I know is I have 45 kilograms, and I need to get to milligrams. So based on this little setup here, I'm going to need to go from kilo to milli. Notice I'm going through the base unit in the middle. What could help you is convert to the base unit first, and then convert to the milli unit. So in other words, I know that 1 kilo is equal to 1,000 base units, right? It takes a lot of base units to equal a kilo. So I know that my new number, my base unit, my grams, is going to be much larger. Another way of thinking of it is, since this is on top, if I'm going this way, I have to multiply. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 1,000. We'll learn more, probably a better method for this in a couple days, but quick and dirty, I take kilograms, it's 1 kilogram for every gram. 45 times 1,000 is going to give me 45,000 grams. But that's not what they want, right? They want milligrams. So I got to go another step. Grams is my base unit. I'm right here. So now what I need to do is I need to go and I'm going to look at this. 1 base unit. Okay, so 1 gram is equal to 1,000 milligrams. So 1,000. Okay, 45,000 times 1,000 gives me 45 million milligrams. Don't forget your units. So one other trick I want to mention, because I know that multiplying and dividing, but big numbers can sometimes throw people off. Probably have learned this in math, but let's talk about it briefly. Whenever you're multiplying or dividing by 10, you're really just moving the decimal. So if you're multiplying by 10, right, things are going to get bigger. And if you count up the number of zeros, for instance, 1,000 here, we're multiplying by 1,000 right here, it has 3 zeros. So what I did was I just moved the decimal, which would normally be right here. I just moved it over 3 spots. So 1, 2, 3. I had 3 zeros. I moved the decimal over 3 spots. So it became 45,000. Did the same thing here. If we were dividing, okay, so in other words, if I had to divide by 1,000, because my units are getting bigger, if I had to divide by 1,000, the decimal goes the other way. It moves to the left. Okay. Now, real quick, just this guy. There is another common prefix. It's centi. The only time we're going to use it is when we deal with centimeters, and that's few and far between. But remember, centimeter is just 100th of the base. Okay? Yep. See? Base to centi multiplied by 100, and we're good. All right, it is practice time. So right now, you're going to pause the video and practice. You're going to identify the quantities over here. These are the quantities. So in other words, tell me if it's for measuring mass, volume, or distance or length, whichever word you want to use, mass, volume, length. Identify each one by looking at the units. Then you're going to try and solve these, convert these. Then come back and see me solve it. Okay, do this by yourself right now. Pause the video and try it. Did you pause? If you didn't pause, go back and try it. You can always restart the video if you get stuck. I said pause it. All right, let's solve it. Hopefully you did try. Remember, you only learn science by doing, so you need to try this. All right, meters. Let's do the quantities first. Whoa. Okay. Let's do the quantities first. So if we look at this, our units are meters. That is a unit of length. Okay, or distance if you prefer that term, but I like length. All right. Next, liters. That is a quantity of volume. Milligrams or grams is a quantity of mass. Meters, we just said that up here. That's length. And meters again, that's length. Sorry for giving so many about length, but we had 3 to deal with, so I picked those. All right, now let's solve. Going down the list here, we're going to start with 34 meters to kilometers. Meters is a base unit. Kilometers is a prefix. It's a bigger prefix, right? So first thing I want to remember is I want to remember my KBM, right? KBM, killed by monster, killed by math. 1 kilo equals, I'll put a little equal sign here. I'll draw it a little different. Equals 1,000 base units, or 1 base unit equals 1,000 millis. That's our KBM. That's going to help us remember how to convert these. So here we go. We've got 34 meters. That is the base unit, and we're going to kilometers. All right. Now, before I said that if you're going from kilo to base, you would multiply, right? Because it's on top. So we multiply if it's on top, and we're going to the left. Okay. So it's 1 to 1,000. So but since we're going from base to kilo now, we're actually going to divide by 1,000. So we take 34, divide by 1,000, and that's going to give us 0.034. Kilometers. Now, how did I get that? I looked at this and I said, okay, I'm dividing by 1,000 because meters are smaller than kilometers. So when I divide that up, it's going to become an even smaller number. Okay, I divide, things get smaller. I found my decimal point. It's right here. Okay, there are 3 zeros in 1,000. So when I divide, it's going to move my decimal 1, 2, 3 spots to the left. Notice here, 1, 2, 3 spots to the left. Okay, next one, 900 liters, 2 milliliters. This again is a base unit. It's right here. We're going to millis this time. Okay, liters, and I'm going to a smaller unit. Okay, 1,000 of these guys equals one of these. So again, I'm going to the right, so I'm going to multiply. Okay, if I go to the left, basically you're going to multiply to the right if you're moving to the right through kbm. You're going to divide if you're going to the left. So 900 liters, right? And I need to go to milliliters, so I'm going to divide, okay, so I've got 900 liters. I'm going to milliliters, so I'm going to multiply by 1,000. That's going to give me 900,000 milliliters. Okay, do not forget units. Get in the habit right now of writing units every single time, because throughout the year, if you don't write your units, you're going to have to redo it. You have to write units in chemistry, because when we get to the math, if you don't write the units, you're not going to know where to plug things in. All right, moving on. 8 milligrams. We're going to grams. Let's find our kbm here. Milligrams is right here. We're going to grams right here. Uh-oh, we're going to the left. That means divide. If you're going to the left in kbm, you divide. So, all right, milligrams to grams. It's 1,000 milligrams to 1 base unit. So I take my 8 and I divide it by 1,000. I find my decimal spot. There's 3 zeros here. I'm dividing so it gets smaller, so that means I'm going to end up with a decimal. I move my decimal over 3 spots. 3 zeros here, 3 spots over here. So 1, 2, 3. Plug the zeros in. It's an ugly 0. There we go. So that means that I have 0.008 milligrams. All right. Check these over, rewind it, rewatch, do what you got to do, come up with your question for tomorrow, and be ready to practice. These last 2 problems, I will give you the answers to at the beginning of class tomorrow. Okay? Challenge yourself right now, solve these 2. If you can't solve them, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay?